Bill Burns, the director of the CIA, said the lesson that China's learning from Ukraine, one of them is use overwhelming decisive force. And the analogy I always use is the Iraq War in 2003. I mean, didn't think it was a good idea, but just looking at it empirically, the United States determined after over 12 years of sanctions that we had failed in our objective of guaranteeing that Saddam Hussein was not pursuing WMD. And so the United States used direct military force in the most fundamental way to coerce them. And I think that's what China is going to increasingly be tempted towards, and they're developing a military to do it. I mean, that's one of the things I think is important to point out. When you look at military capability, that reflects not only intent, long-term intent of the kind of military you build, but also future potential, right? Just because one government or one leader doesn't want to use that capability, a future one might. I call it the Elbridge phenomenon, where the famous or infamous story where she had the debate with then Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Powell, about the potential to intervene in the former Yugoslavia. And he said, we've got the Powell Doctrine, the Weinberg Doctrine, we don't use our militaries. And she said, what do we have this amazing military for if we can't use it? And that same dynamic will apply in China, and that they're building a military for power projection, not simply for territorial defense. And I go into it in the book at some length, but their best strategy is basically a fait accompli invasion, certainly of Taiwan to start with, but then it could be used against other states like the Philippines, not to necessarily annex the Philippines as part of the People's Republic, but something more along the lines of what we did to Saddam Hussein, where you basically displace the government in question, or you coerce them to do something that they wouldn't otherwise be willing to do. And that's where, at the end of the day, I don't think coercion by air or sea is ultimately very reliable form. If you want to do it, as Napoleon said it, if you want to take Vienna, take Vienna. And so I think they're going to need to project and sustain enough ground forces against, say, Taiwan, to seize and hold the key territory of the targeted state. And if we can deny that, that's the kind of the idea of the strategy of denial. If we can deny that, there's at least a good chance that if a country like Taiwan is resolute enough, as the Ukrainians have proved to be, then they can hold on, and that anti-hegemonic coalition will function.